He wants to hear facts and statistics.
Yeah.
You just have to read your audience and acclimate to their personalities. One thing I never say is, "Hey, wow, look at this huge living room."
Welcome to a series of unfortunate real estate events, a podcast where we talk about real issues that come up from the time a property goes under contract to the time it actually closes and what other real estate professionals can learn from these experiences. This week, I'm joined by Laura.heartacre from Coldwell Banker, the Milford office, and we're going to walk through a few closings that just did not go to plan and ultimately how they played out. Good morning, Laura. How are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So just a lot of our guests probably may not know you. So let's I have a few questions that we go through just to get to know you a little bit better. How long have you been in real estate?
As of the 26th, it's now 13 years.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Full time. Full
Full time.
time.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Uh, so you're in real estate just as long as I've been. Mine I become I'll be 13 years in September.
Ah,
So um that means I'm married for 13 years too. So sorry, random
very
tangent.
nice.
Um what got you interested into real estate?
Well, I came from the world of sales. After college at 21, I just love working with people. I like solving problems, troubleshooting, and I like to work with adults. So I went into sales, corporate sales. And I've been doing that since the age of 21, but in senior level executive.
Okay.
I was in inside sales for 2 months, and then I actually went outside, and I never went back inside. I got into real estate because at 45, and the reason why is because I realized I said, "Why should I be giving all the corporation all this money when I could do this myself?" So I like being self-employed. I've been
Oh,
self-employed for 13 years.
being self-employed is a very different experience in life.
Yeah. There's no guaranteed paychecks. Mhm.
Yes. And, a lot of people have the misconception that because you're self-employed, you work less hours than the rest of the world. But I think it's quite the opposite. You work more hours and almost to some degree have less freedom, but you still have a lot of freedom at the same time.
When it
So,
comes to
yeah.
real estate, yeah, when it comes to real estate, you definitely work many crazy hours.
Hmm.
Sometimes you work at 8 o'clock at night and you don't work during the day, or
Yep.
sometimes you work all day long and you're off the nights. It really varies depending on your client's
Yep.
needs.
Yep. And then taking vacations is always fun because, your clients still need you, even though you're maybe sitting on a beach somewhere, uh, enjoying the sun.
Yeah.
You still sometimes have to deal with work while you're away.
Well, if you have very good clients, you say to them, "Hey, you take a 2-week vacation, right? Or a week vacation. Well, it's my turn now. I deserve a vacation. Don't you think?" "Oh, absolutely." So
Yeah.
how about I have a colleague take care of, your particular house that we're selling or you're looking for homes, and I'll be back r- as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I do need a little R&R as well.
Oh, we all do, right?
Mhm.
Otherwise, you burn out.
That's right, and I haven't burnt out yet, and it's been full 13 years full time, and it's because I work smart, especially with
That's
buyers. If buyers are not pre-approved and ready to rock and roll, I'm really not interested in working with them. I'll be very kind and very polite and say, "Hey, maybe this is just not the time."
right,
If you want 10 towns in Connecticut, this is not working. You gotta research for 1 town or 2 towns, and then I'll be ready to go out and get exactly what you're looking for.
right. And the hard part is there when you're looking for multiple towns, as you and I know, but not everyone thinks about this. You may not be an expert on, Essex, right?
Well,
So
you make yourself
right,
an expert.
right. You got to make yourself quickly get up to date. But if you're looking and researching, Essex, Fairfield, Middletown, Milford, and three other towns, that's a lot of work for you to do, and you can't help them as well as if they just said, "Okay, look, I'm looking in Milford."
If they're looking in, like, for example, I had a client that was interested in Madison, but this was a cash, deal, and it was $2,000,000, and so I decided to call the brokerage firm in Madison and asked it for as a referral I said,
Yeah.
"Is there any agents there that are, they have the niche in Madison, like born and raised, know all the country clubs, can
Yep.
go back to their dormant listings and call them up and say, 'Hey, listen, we got a cash buyer here, and they're interested in buying your home where it's been sitting on the market for a long time. They're ready to go.'"
Right.
So it's easier to get a referral fee than running back and forth in Madison from Milford.
Yeah. That makes
And
sense.
especially today with gas prices. So
Well,
you
I'm
gotta work
hoping
smart in this business. That's one thing I
exactly.
learned.
Exactly. So one of the things we've noticed is people typically hire us to make sure our closing runs smoothly. And a lot of agents that work with us notice that one of the things that helps them is catching problems early enough in the process so they don't snowball into these massive problems. Is that something you often see as a situation that
Well, what I do is this is a seller's market. So, all I could say is when I'm out with a buyer and they're looking for a house and I can see peeling paint and they're an FHA, we're going to have issues. Well, I'll say to them, "Hey, listen, you're an FHA. These FHA appraisers are really hard about peeling paint and safety issues, missing banisters. Let's go find a house that's, in better shape." But because it's an FHA today, it's very hard to win a bid. So you therefore, let's go look at the houses 30 days on the market. That's the ones that have been passed by those bidding wars that they're going to have. And you'll
exactly
have a better chance, a higher chance of getting that house. And maybe at list price or lower
right?
because the seller is like, "Hey, look at my house. Everyone's passed by it."
That's how we got our house. We looked at stuff 30 days on the market and we bought in January of 2022 and I
Mhm.
bought under purchase price
Yeah.
because it sat. It wasn't
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful house. It just
Oh,
it didn't show well, so it was to my advantage,
yeah.
right?
Right.
I think that's the key, right? If you're and I commend you on that to tell them to look at 30 days and older because it gives them a chance to negotiate and especially with the FHA buyer that, you know,
Right.
sellers
But on
might
the other hand, if you have a conventional or a cash buyer,
yeah,
much easier.
yeah,
Conventional loan, conventional appraisers just coming in and say, "Oh, you got 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, living room, we're good to go."
right,
They don't care. Um, but I've been a listing agent really more so for about 5 years. Why? It's guaranteed money. And in this real estate world, if you're working with buyers today, only one person's going to win that 15 offer bid.
right,
And could you imagine how time consuming it is to write up this offer? First of all, finding the home, finally, saying, "Okay, you want this home?" So we write an offer. But I kind of do things a little different. I call up the agent even before I take a step out of my door. "Oh,
okay,
hey, John, how you doing? I see you have a beautiful listing. My client is really excited about it. Talk to me. Are we talking 20, 30,000 over? Oh, Laura, we're already at 40K. Hey, Mr. Buyer, still interested in this house? They're at 40,000 over. Oh, you know what? Nah, let's go to the next."
right.
So you gotta be smart. And
Research,
there are some agents who will tell you, I mean, we're not asking exact figures. Just
no,
give me an increment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Researching the property is key. I don't think enough people do that, right?
No.
Both
Mm-mm.
as agents and clients, right? Our buyers
Yes.
and our sellers well, our sellers don't research the property, but our
Right.
buyers don't research enough and they go into it not knowing enough and then get surprised and
Right.
everything falls apart and
But
they're
in
already
regard to
emotionally
the
invested.
yeah, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think they're already emotionally invested. It's tough at that point, right? To
Yeah.
tell somebody, yeah, we're walking away from this house that you pictured yourself living in is extremely difficult.
Well, the beauty is with these bidding wars, for a buyer, let's say the home inspection didn't go well, even though it was for informational purposes only. And the seller says, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm not doing anything because I got the buyers right behind you, and
Yeah.
they're dying for this deal to fall apart." So, Mr. Buyer, hey, listen, we've walked and seen so many houses, we can't even remember what we happened to see. And then, not only that, but then we put in all these offers. and we lost 2, 3, 4, 5. We finally secured this particular home, which was your ideal location, everything. Are you willing to forfeit the fact the seller doesn't want to, fix the hot water heater or something or give you a credit on it? Do you really want to lose for $1,500 of a credit of a 1,500, hot water tank? Laura, if you look at it like that, it makes sense. No, I don't want to lose this house.
Yeah.
But and then also when you're talking to your buyer, you say to them, okay, 30,000 over 40,000, it seems high. But Mr. Buyer, this house has been priced right. So therefore they priced it right so they could get bidding wars. It may even be worth 30, 40,000. But the beauty is that the 30, 40,000 is not what you look at. We call up your lender. So that's another thing. I call the lender up right away when they like it. Hey, Mr. Lender, it's 30,000 over. What would their monthly, income statement be? With the house insurance, the
Right.
whatever, all the charges, mortgage, taxes, etc. Oh, it's only going to be, $20 more a month. $20 more a month, that's it? Exactly. So don't look at it as 30,000 over, 40,000. Look at what the monthly statement's going to be for escrow. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Now look at that. Isn't that great? Now you didn't even lose the house. You gained the house with that knowledge.
Right. Right. That's, a cup of coffee every day if you stop it for a week,
Yeah,
you can make that $20.
that's
Right.
right. But you see, but some people, I mean, there are new agents out there who don't really realize that, just get your lender on the phone and the lender will solve the problem if they're a good one.
Well, that's the importance of having the correct team with you, right?
You have to have an A team.
You have to have an
Yep.
A team that you could
Right.
pick up and call on a Saturday morning,
Yes.
and they'll pick up your call because they know it's coming from you and will work
Yes.
through it. That's
And
the
I
key.
always tell my buyers, let's go for a local one, a local attorney, a local lender, because we all know the landscape of this town, or we know the
Right.
rules and regulations, and it's just so much easier. If I can't get in touch with your lender on a Saturday and Sunday, and you're going to lose this house because we can't get this offer in that time, and meanwhile it's due 6 p.m. on Sunday night,
Exactly.
hey, you just lost it,
Y We
that
have that.
opportunity.
That's why, as much as people think banks are the best option, it's why banks are not the best option.
That's right.
They
They
leave it
may
5.
give the best interest rate, but in the long run, you may lose your house.
Right.
And there's a
Well,
lot of points, hidden points there too
right,
people don't know about. Yeah,
right, and then, they leave at 5 o'clock on a Friday and don't show up until 9 o'clock on a Monday.
that's right. I've had a lot of doozies and also solar panels. I think solar panels is one of the hardest things if you can get under that early. So I had a listing in Seymour and all of a sudden he has solar panels that are conveying with the property. So what did I do? I said, "Give me all the information you have. I will contact them on your behalf." And he gave me, his information so I can alleviate his schedule, right? And I would be talking to 6, 7 different people. Eventually, I would say to them, "Listen, it's quite simple. I sent you an email. Just give me a list, a bullet point list as of what do you need for us to have the buyers transfer their names into the solar panels." Do you know they'll wait to the last minute and to your closing to send those transfer papers?
Oh, we've had a number of closings get delayed because of that, right?
Yeah.
Now I
Well,
can't
I got
blame
really mad and I got it done. And my client was able to get to Florida just on time.
I mean, I can't 100% blame the solar companies. Sometimes it's been our buyers and our sellers that
Yeah.
drag their feet. I got one, the seller didn't pay last month's bill and now they're not transferring it, right?
Yeah.
We're supposed to close on Friday and they haven't paid the bill, so now the
Yeah.
solar company says we can't transfer it,
Yeah.
right?
Uh,
Unfortunately, the solar companies hold all the cards there.
yeah, they do. That's why you should get under it very early.
Exactly.
Another thing is when you're listing a house, look at that entire house. I mean, I remember in the beginning day, I knew I was working in Stratford a lot, and a lot of Stratford was FHA back in before the COVID days. So when I looked at this listing, and this was somebody just called me because she saw me online. She goes, "Oh, I'd like to, meet with you." Blah blah blah. So I go to the house and right away I see the soffits are wooden and they're peeling. I said, "Oof, we've got some peeling paint." She goes, "Wow, you're looking at everything already. You didn't even come in the door." I said, "Well, I'm trained. I'm trained to see what's going to happen. I want you to have all of these offers coming in from FHA, conventional, VA, everything. So you have a plethora of offers to choose from." So she was very happy and I got that listing. It's those little details that really come a long way. I was sitting on the couch and I said, she goes, "Oh, I interviewed 2 other agents." I said, "How did that go?" "Oh, it's all right." I said, "Well, before we even begin, I know I'm kind of overstepping here, but I'm looking at your roof and it looks original." And she goes, "It is." And I said, "You know, even if I listed this house, we may not get a buyer to secure the loan." And she goes, "Well, why?" "Because the lenders will say, hey, the insurance, the homeowner's insurance, they're really cutting down on giving loans to roofs that are like maybe a year or two longevity left for years. So if you have a house, with an original roof, you may not be able to get that loan." I mean, I did have a situation where I was able to salvage it. I had a buyer, and it was here in Milford, and the roof was beyond its life expectancy. And they wanted this house so badly, and I wanted to give them this house. So what we did is the lender and I talked, and I said, "Why don't we see if we can get the insurance company to give a grace period? Say maybe like once they secure the home, they have 6 months to get the new roof on," which they did. And that's how they got the loan.
Yeah, they're
Well, there
getting
are ways around it.
there are, and they're getting stricter now. Now I've seen a lot of even insurance companies deny not give coverage because the house is got a 15-year-old roof on it,
Yeah, so
right?
my current, client, she's getting a roof as we speak. I think it's done. It's done in 3 days.
Yeah,
So now she'll be able to list with a brand new roof, which raises their value, and we're even gonna paint the front of the house, so
there we
even
go.
raising it more. But, details go a long way. As a realtor, just keep your eyes open and your ears because you want to get the most money you can get for your seller and you want to try to get the lowest I mean, for the buyer to pay.
Right.
But in this day and age, buyer agents, I feel for them. It's hard to be out there. I was just out there yesterday and you got like 10 offers already. You got
Right.
10, 15 offers and it's hard to compete. So I tell my buyers, if you are pre-approved for 500,000, we're not looking at 510. We're looking at 450 so you have a cushion to be able
Right.
to allocate more money to win that bidding war or at least get in the ballpark.
Exactly. We're kind of I feel like in that 2021 era again where the market is very hot.
For
There's
sellers
for sellers, but they're not
in
buyers
Connecticut.
are having to overpay
Yeah,
and going over purchase, overvaluing, right? Overbidding on properties
right.
to make it work.
Well, the appraisers, it's interesting. There was a time when it stopped, it started slowing down, and the appraisers were being a little bit harder about giving those overbidded appraisal amount, the winning bids.
Yep,
So let's say the house is 500,000, it came in at 585, and the appraiser's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I know you had all these bids, and this is the winning bid, but this house is really worth 565." And then the seller, you have to have this conversation with the seller. Well, now we're 20,000, ahead here and the bank is only going to give them, the 565, not the 585. What are we going to do here? Are you going to be fair enough and just maybe come down 10 and they'll come up 10 or, something along those lines? You have to really strategically look at those numbers. If there are people behind him, obviously he could kill the deal, but it's in his best interest to work on it. Because then you gotta market again, and maybe all those buyers are gone too.
right. I mean, that we're seeing that a lot lately too. If
Mhm.
deals falling apart and go back to the buyers and they're already gone, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
the other interesting part. People are already moving on quickly because they know there's not a lot
Mhm.
there right now, unfortunately.
But just to let you know, I chose real estate because I probably have some little ADD or something going on because I need that change all the time. And it's all different variables, price points, locations, people, personalities. I mean, I was working with an actuator guy, and he doesn't want to hear about, oh, how beautiful the weather is or how gorgeous this living room is. He wants to hear numbers. Well, it's 20% up the town. He wants to hear facts and statistics.
Yeah.
You just have to read your audience and acclimate to their personalities. One thing I never say is, "Hey, wow, look at this huge living room." That may not be a huge living room to that person. That may be, like a size of a little study to them. So you just say, "Do you have any questions? What do you think? It does look expansive, but what do you think?" Or I like people who say, "I love the backyard." I said, "Well, that's wonderful. But what about the house?" Not so much." I'm like, "Well, are you going to live 90% in your backyard or 90% in your house? This may not be a good fit. What do you think?"
Right.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay.
I have a friend like that. He's more concerned about the backyard than what the house looks like.
Yeah. But that's
But
90%. You could be outside. You might as well build another addition or something out there, a shed.
yeah, he
But
wants
it
he
is, I absolutely love real estate in regards to the people.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just find it so interesting. You will never be bored. I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years. This is the longest I've ever been in the same like company, or the same industry, I should say. Like you go into, I sold advertising. I did that for 3 years. I'm like, I learned it. Goodbye, move on. I sold cellular phones when they were $1,000 flip phone. And I was the only woman in the industry. It was awesome. I had a great time. I did 100 activations in 1 month. I'm like, this is too easy. Let's move on. So then, and then I went into commercial HVAC and
Okay.
I quoted rooftop units based on velocity of airflow. I was the only woman in the industry. So that was kind of interesting for a while. And then I said, you know what? I ran into a woman networking and she says, you would be great in real estate. And that's where I am. I never left.
There we go.
But in
Yeah.
regards to problems, one agent once said to me, "How come you always so happy? You must not have any problems with your clients." And I said, "Actually, on the contrary, I said I have many problems, but I don't see them as problems because there's always a resolution. You may not like the resolution, but it can be fixed. If both parties want to sell and the other party wants to buy, you can fix it.
Right.
There may be some money involved there to fix it or but it can be fixable. So don't get upset. I mean, in 300 over I guess it's about over 325 transactions in 13 years, I maybe lost 2 or 3 because I am a pit bull. I will hold on to the bitter end. These are my clients.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
that's
want them to be
you know,
displaced. I don't
right.
want them to feel like, you have to go to a hotel because, this closing is extended. I mean, I don't want my clients moving truck, paying per diem uh, every day until they close. Imagine that. So you have your truck, you got to get your stuff
Yeah.
in. And you encounter this all the time. And you feel so bad for these
Yeah.
people.
We have a closing today. The client is couch surfing because the seller was on vacation in a foreign country and didn't sign documents before they left.
Oh my god. See, now that's negligence, and that's really, really discourteous too. I mean, how could you do that? Or I had one time an attorney, it wasn't my side, I was on the listing side, it was the buyer side, and he decides to go to Bermuda, it doesn't tell his crew, and there's no alternative, lawyer to take care of the case, the closing.
I've
And
got that.
meanwhile and of course, it's on a Friday.
Yeah.
It's a Friday where, they're hoping to move in with their furniture, everything's gonna be exciting for them, and this attorney takes off.
Yeah.
So, people like yourself and attorneys like yourself, and there are such a handful of great attorneys, and when you find them, you stick with them.
I appreciate that. And we've got the luxury. There's two of us in my office, so we make sure that we're not both out at the same time, so you don't have that issue,
Right, right.
right? That's the key.
right.
And, it goes back
People
to
have to realize, when I first started this business, one agent said to me, he says, "Oh, how many closings do you have?" And it was 6 months. I had about, let's see, it was 12 I closed in 6 months on my when I first started. And he goes, "Oh, well, don't you're not gonna get all 12 of those. You're lucky if you get 6, maybe 4." And I said to them, "How could you say that? I mean, these are people you're talking about. It's not
well,
a numbers game, it's people." And I said, "How would you like it if you were the one that was selling that house? Wear their shoes and maybe you'll have more empathy." So I kind of stay away from the negative and the
yeah,
negativity.
Laura, that's amongst the other things, that's one of my favorite things about you. I don't think I've ever spoke to you and you've not been jolly and positive and in a good mood,
Thank you.
right? That makes the huge difference. And honestly, I think that's where you get 12 deals in 6 months that you can get them all done,
Yeah.
'cause there's a positivity to this, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah. I mean, Saturdays or Sundays, whatever it takes to get it done, I'm there.
yeah,
I mean, if I'm going to list something, and presentation is so important, have the best photographer, get the plans out, call everybody. Here's an example. I had a listing at Cortlandt Avenue in Stamford. It was a
okay,
multi, and this is before COVID. And so it was a buyer's market, not a seller's market. But
yeah,
I had this beautiful listing. You could eat off the floor. I mean, the floors were just beautiful, and they had tenants downstairs. Apparently, they were there for 18 years. I went over there, introduced myself, and I said, "Hey, I want you to know, when is your lease up?" "Oh, it's up like 2 months." I said, "Are you comfortable with that?" "Well, actually, we like to stay another year." And I said, "Well, let me go and find out if I could do that for you." I extended it that year. Do you know they gave me 4 referrals, and they were listings in Stamford?
uh,
Because I took care of their needs.
well, I think that's the key, right? I think there's too many people in your side and mine, it's just a transaction. This is a big deal to our clients, right?
Right. It's a people business, and people have to understand this is not a numbers game.
Nope.
Maybe with the lenders, it's a numbers game, but not with real estate. We're the
Right.
ones who are working with these buyers. They become our friends.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
showing
we've
so many houses.
I've closed with so many of my neighbors that we've become friends now because of
See?
things. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's even the lenders, I don't think they treat it as a numbers game. I mean, they have to look at the numbers. They're not
Right,
necessarily looking at the person. You and I, we got to look at the people and treat them like that. The lender
right,
does, but the
right.
lender's main priority is the numbers.
Well, you know what? The lenders don't get the business unless we refer them.
Exactly.
So early in the game, I learned that quickly. I said, if you wanna go to Zillow with me, and this is when Zillow was good. I would never go to Zillow anymore. But I said to them, "Well, it's like $1,200." It was good though, because they would have 4 agents on the side. You pick the agent with the most, reviews. And I always believed in testimonials, so I had like 25, only 3 months working. I mean, I
Yeah.
worked, well, not 3 months, excuse me, that's not right. About a year and a half, 25, because I did close 22 my first year, by the way.
Wow.
I
Congratulations.
got I got rookie of the year at 45, that was funny.
But that's,
I thought that was funny because I was a VP of sales and I got rookie of the year
I've got to
in the
say,
corporate world.
even not as a rookie, that's still an impressive number of 22.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a New Yorker, you might hear the accent. I grew up in Westchester, and I'm not here from Connecticut,
Yeah.
but that's how I built you have to build a book of business. So, I bought leads. That's how I got my book of business. I figured I'm not going to my sphere of influence because everybody has their houses.
Yeah.
Some people don't want you to know their finances, and,
Yep.
that's another thing, and I used to always tell people, "Do you really wanna work with that agent because, she's gonna know all your business? I'm objective. I'm just trying to get you exactly what you want." I would win a couple of those. Those were good. But, who wants to know your business? A lot of people are very private, and they should be.
Especially
But
your friends and family, right?
friends and families, right.
More
So I
so.
decided I didn't believe in that. I mean, I came from the corporate world, so I was all about testimonials. And, a lot of people would just sell the houses and the agents go, well, how do you get those testimonials? Well, this is what I would do. All of a sudden we're in the car and they'll say, geez, I love that house over there. I said, well, let me see. Let me see what's going on. It's not on our list to see. I call up the agent. Hey, how's it going? Any chance we can go see this house? We're literally right across the street. Oh, yeah, go right in. So he goes, wow, that's amazing, Laura. How do you do these? I said, look, all I ask from you is after we close, I don't ask for a parting gift or anything. If you could just give me a testimonial, just stating like right here, you were just so happy how I got you in there when it wasn't even on your list. Little things like that. If you feel, and I would always say to them, if you don't think I'm a 5-star review, you don't believe I should have 5 stars, don't even bother. Oh, no, no, we'll give you 5 stars. I'm like, okay. So I have 5 stars.
That's a good way.
Yeah.
We make sure we ask at the closing table because we know after that they're gone, right? They're
Yes.
busy moving, they forget about it.
Well, that's another thing. When they move into their place, you kind of like, within the first month. I don't do it 2 days after, 3 days, 'cause they'll be upset.
They're busy.
Yeah, they're unpacking. So a month later when they're all chipper, "Hey, how's it going? How did you are you gonna paint that room?" I write copious notes too, like, yeah, I remember like, for example, I've been calling my database lately, like 6 a day, and I'll say, "Hey, John, Laura, my God, it's like 10 years." I know. So did you ever put in that second bathroom downstairs? You remembered? Like, come
Yeah,
on. I was with you for like, a month looking for a house. Yeah. So those little things, or, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. What kind of wine do you like? Do you like red, white, or whatever? Well, I like
yeah,
white. Well, it just so happens tomorrow I will be here, but it's very close to your home. Will you be around? Well, no, tomorrow's not good, but what about Thursday, 1 o'clock? Hey, let me check my schedule. Hey, that works. Love to
yeah.
see you. And you get another referral.
Well,
It's,
you have the advantage of having some, I'm guessing, sales experience working at all the corporate companies you did.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got a better understanding than most do when it comes to referral business, right?
Mm.
On those little extras that I think a lot of people tend to forget.
Well, like, I was in a bank once and I'm talking to this person and that person. This is when you were able to stand in the bank, not like
Yeah.
make an appointment. And so I'm having a conversation, and next thing you know, he's saying, I have a house, but my brother Tommy's looking to buy one. I said, oh, would you like? I mean, look, here is my contact information. You could read my reviews. If you like it, give me a call. If it doesn't do anything for you, feel free not to. There's
Yeah.
no obligation, but love to help Tommy if he's interested. And about 3 days later, I get a call from Tommy. And then after Tommy and I found a house, I called up, the woman who referred me, and I said, "Hey, I just wanted to say, I'd like to give you an Amazon gift card." She goes, "Wow, that's so nice." She says, "You remember?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, you gave me this." I said, "I think my sales force should be paid. You are
Yeah.
my sales force."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind
I
of think
tend to
of it
think
like
I
that.
tend to do Dunkin' Donuts gift cards, but think I might switch that up to Amazon because it is something that they could use more so than
It seems
Dunkin'
like
Donuts.
everybody's on Amazon, right? They have it in their cart. They just
Yep,
haven't pulled the trigger yet.
exactly. So,
So yeah, so I can't believe I'm still smiling and still happy. I got 4 listings in this, and this is a very, very tight market,
yeah,
very hard. But still plugging along, keeping my positive attitude. I walk the beach 4 miles at like 7:30 to 8:30 or 6:30 to 7:30 because I
nice.
live across the street from the beach. So
Okay.
that's the way I get myself pumped up for the day, take a shower, and start my day.
That's a great way to get pumped up for the day.
Yeah. And then I meet people there too. I picked up 7 listings on the boardwalk.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
That's a new one to me. I never thought about the boardwalk as a place to develop business, but I guess it's
Well, I
every
could give you a short version. There was a guy talking to me and I said, "Wow, it's so beautiful to live here in Milford." He goes, "I love it here." And I'm sweaty. I got my
yeah.
hair in a ponytail, not the best position to talk to someone, but I don't care. I'm very natural. And then he said to me, he says, "Yeah, it really is beautiful." I said, So do you work around here? Not that I'm trying to pick the guy up. I'm trying to get
Sure.
business. And then the guy goes, he says, yeah, he says, I work in Stanford. I said, oh, how's that working for you with these upcoming prices for gas and then he goes, "Well," he says, "Ah, not too well." And I said, "Well, so you work? What do you do?" And he says, "I'm a manager at the Prime." And I said, "Oh, wow." I said, "That's pretty far. Managers, they work many hours, what, six days a week?" Yeah, pretty much. I said, I hope you have a girlfriend or somebody down there. He goes, yeah, my girlfriend lives down there. I'm like, oh, so how often are you in your house here? He goes, not too often. I said, well, it just so happens I have to be a realtor. And this is a seller's market. Would you be interested in wanting to know how much your house is worth? I was there the next day and my photographer came at 2 o'clock.
That is awesome. So,
Well, that doesn't happen all the time.
no,
It's just.
but if you don't have that conversation, it's never gonna happen.
Right. But you see, I didn't go right into real estate. I had this conversation innocuously. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, well, it just so happens I'm a realtor. Would you be interested in knowing the worth of your home?
Yeah, that is awesome.
And, he could have said, hey, I'm all set. And I would just say, hey, have a great day. See
Yeah,
you around.
exactly. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So if you could leave a newer agent with one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
Okay. Well, when I first started, no one taught me this, but I think it's very important to when you go and show a house, when you're going to, show the house to your clients, call that agent up or give them feedback. They are so appreciative. And I had 4 showings yesterday in Milford, right? And I called up the agent before and I called, hey, said, hey, I just want you to know we're leaving right now. Wow, that's really nice. Thanks so much. I'm like, yeah, because, I could see someone's living here. Maybe they might want to come back.
That's a really nice gesture and a smart piece of
And
advice.
and I'll tell you, one guy said to me, was like 4 years later, he goes, "I remember you, Laura, because you're the only one that called to say, hey, the house is great, but the rooms are too small upstairs." That goes a long way. That and follow up. You must be impeccable with your follow up. And don't be afraid of the phone. People actually like when you call them.
Yep. Most of the time.
If they're agitated, take a hint. Say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you." Talk another time. Or just say, "Hey, is it okay if I could call you in 6 months or 3 months?" Just
Exactly.
don't get on people's nerves. Like, I see these agents, they send all this direct mailing. Do you wanna know something? What's the percentage that these people are gonna call? The broker told me when I first started, and remember, I come from sales, VP of sales and so on in the corporate world, working with CEOs. And my broker said to me, he says, you need to farm when he first told me. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. I don't believe in that. And he goes, well, why not? I said, because if I send all these direct mailings out, guess what's going to happen? I'm not the senior realtor. That's going to put a seed in that person's house in head and say, hey, let me call up John. He's our realtor. I think I'm about to sell now. Meanwhile, you just lost out.
Yeah.
So I decided to build a book of business by buying leads. And I think that's what most the newer agents are doing because I see these people that they have, they're not friends. You could tell they are leads.
Yeah.
But
That's a great way to get started. You build your book, and if you treat people right, keep in touch with
yes.
them. When they're ready to make their next move or their friends are looking, they're going to recommend you then.
Right. So when I started Zillow, that was my first thing. I know everyone hates Zillow. So do I, guys. I hate them. But anyway, in the beginning, I literally, I paid $200. That was it for the month. I figured, let me just try it out.
Yeah.
They gave me 12 leads. I took those 12 leads and I turned 10 of them into gold. And then from there, I talked to their other friends and family, and I just expanded and expanded from my little 10 leads to
Yeah.
this and this and this. You do a good job, people are gonna remember it. And you don't have to go buy 65-inch TVs. I see this happening all the time. "Oh, I'm gonna buy this client a 65-inch TV. They're gonna call me. All these sellers are gonna call me." That's bribery. If
Yeah.
you do a good job, you should be doing a good job based on merit, not on, "Hey, I could go buy you this." What about the fact that you fought tooth and nail to get that house for them? What about the fact that you saved them so much money with their home inspections?
Right.
How about you got so much out of the seller? Isn't that enough? But I still give a Amazon gift card
Fair enough.
for thanking them for using me as a business.
Yeah. So, if somebody's looking to sell their house or buy a house and they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Oh, the best way is my phone number, which is 203-257-1477. I am such a phone person. If
Perfect.
you wanna reach me, email, it's my first name, laura.heartacre@cbmoves.com. But call me. I like calls or texts.
Well, Laura, thank you for your time today. And anyone that's looking for a great real estate agent, I'm going to make sure to put Laura's information in the description so you can easily catch that number and that email address. But
Thank you so much.
thank
I
you, Laura,
really
for
enjoyed
joining
it.
me today. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day.
Thank you. I really appreciate having me. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.